also this week, the Victorian Parliament's debating the establishment of a First Nations Assembly that almost entirely mimics the federal voice that Victorians rejected at the referendum, almost 55 to 45%. Now, like the voice, this assembly will effectively be a third chamber of the Parliament, elected only by Aboriginal people and comprising only of Aboriginal people, with a say over almost everything the Victorian government does, not just Indigenous issues, even though only about 1% of Victorians claim Indigenous ancestry and identify as Indigenous. Whenever a bill is introduced in the Victorian Parliament, if this legislation is passed, it will have to be accompanied now by a statement as to whether it's, and I quote, compatible with addressing the unacceptable disadvantage inflicted on First Peoples by the historic wrongs and ongoing injustices of colonialisation. Now, each year, the Aboriginal-only Assembly will meet with government ministers and departmental secretaries and a whole lot of other officials to ensure that their work is consistent with advancing the interests of First Peoples. At any time, the First Peoples Assembly will be able to make representations to ministers and authorities about matters of interest to Aboriginal people. And they're supposed to get a response, it says, that it must be provided within 60 days. There's even provision in the legislation for disagreements to end up before the Victorian Supreme Court. You know I'll be paying for that, don't you? Taxpayers will stump up for the government's legal team, and they'll also stump up for the legal team of the Aboriginal Assembly. Then there's the cost of this new race-based body. Right now, its budget's set at $72 million per annum, and it's going to increase year on year by 2.5%. If you think Victorian government is already procedurally constipated, if you think it's ineffective now, well, think how much worse it's going to be if this legislation passes the Parliament. I mean, this is a government that's turned Victoria into the basket case of Australia. Businesses fleeing the state, crime out of control, and yet this kind of politically correct gesture politics is what the once great state of Victoria has been reduced to under Labor. How dare Jacinta Allen say yes to a state-level body that Victorians have already rejected at a federal level? How's that democratic? The Liberal National Coalition say that they'll vote against this legislation, but they won't tell us what they will do if it passes anyway. If elected, will the Liberals repeal it? Well, we still don't know.